Hello YouTube. This video comes from a request submitted by Cubs fan 79. All these suggestions are coming from the Jeep forum. And what he suggests is while we have access to the top of the tank, we should check the grommets and the fuel sending unit, and that's a good idea. As you can see, this grommet has a crack in it. So we're going to take them all out. First thing I'm going to do is remove these hose clamps that I've put on here. Now let's see if we can get the hoses off. Okay, that's the easy ones. Now, this clamp, the only way I know of getting that clamp off is breaking it. I'm not going to break this plastic fitting. I'm going to cut this hose off because it's not coming off, and I'll replace it. That's more like it. This broken gasket ought to come out fairly easy to give us an example of how the other ones are going to come out. So let's try taking this one out. Okay, that's how to do it. Check valve works. The way that I got that out is I put this tool on this bump here and went in underneath the grommet and pried up, and I was able to get one edge up, and then I worked my way around and I got it out. Okay, let's clean up this dirt a little bit. We don't want it falling into the tank and ended up in the filter. Okay, now what I did last time is I took this body tool, it's plastic, and it went underneath the edge like that, and then pried up, and look at that, it comes right out. And that one's good too. So I played with this rollover valve and figured out a way of putting it in. To get the grommet off, what I suggest doing is just cutting it off, because it's going to be a struggle to try to get it off. So carefully cut it. This thing's already split, so I don't have to go too far. And then you can peel it off, like so. Alright, I'll clean off the little seat here. Alright, we got all the goo cleaned off. Now, what I found, it may not be the best way, but what I found is put the grommet in the tank. grommets in the tank. And what I did with this one is I sprayed up the rollover valve in the grommet. And I just pushed it in, rocking it back and forth. Like so. Now I want to pull the sending unit out so I can check on the sock, and I want to check the sending unit to make sure it's working. And I don't have anything the size of this nut. What I ended up doing was taking my pipe wrench and taking the adjuster out of it and just having it sit in there wide enough to fit on the nut on the top of the tank, and then holding it together, turning it, and it actually worked. Why is that dirty? I'm going to get the vacuum cleaner and vacuum that out. There is no sock. I guess I better get one. How about that? The sock is completely gone. Well, I don't have the filter, so we're going to have to wait on that. And I'm not going to take this apart until I get the filter so I know what the filter looks like. But we can check the float to see if it's giving an accurate reading. Wow, that thing sticks way up in the air. That's not right. See how this is sticking up? It won't be able to suck any gas. What's the point of having a 20-gallon tank if you can't get to the bottom? I'm going to have to fix that. After thinking about this and why somebody would do that, and looking into the bottom of the tank with a flashlight, the bottom of the tank is pretty dirty. And what I'm thinking, although I don't understand it, is someone bent this up so it wouldn't suck gas off the bottom of the tank. So they always kept the tank full. I think the best solution is just to replace the sending unit. I'm not even going to try to bend it straight. It's $45. Brand new one, that's what we'll do. But we've got to wash the tank out, and that means we have to take it out. And in that end, I have removed the grommets we installed and the pop-up valves so we can put them back in. I've got the O-ring, but we got a new O-ring coming. That comes with the new sending unit, and that's a good thing. So let's get this tank out of here. Knowing that I was going to have to take this tank back out when I put the body on, I only put these nuts on finger tight, and we can take this splash guard off here, and it helps getting the tank out. Look at that, we got it. So here we go. One clean tank. I see nothing in the bottom. I see black is what I see. So we're good to go. We just got to let it dry now forever. While the tank is drying out, we got a fan blowing air into the fuel inlet, and we got air coming out all the orifices, and it's a good flow of air. So it'll take a day or so to dry out, but it'll be thoroughly dry. While we're waiting for it to dry and for the sending unit to come, let's move on to spark plug wires. What I wanted was a set of custom length spark plug wires with straight ends on both ends so I could make up my own spark plug wires. And I was unable to find that in 8mm because I want it to look like it's stock. You know, I can find it in something bigger than 8mm, but for 8mm, which is a stock thickness, couldn't find it. So what I have here is custom link straight boot, but 90 degrees to the distributor, and I'm not sure that I'm going to like that. Now what this one is a universal set. Straight length both ends, but for V8. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try laying this out using the shortest and the longest and see what it looks like. And if I like the straight ends, then maybe we'll take them off of this cable and put them onto these cables. So let's go try that. I laid the universal set out according to size, this being the smallest, and this one is slightly smaller than this one. And this one is slightly larger than this one, but these two are the same length. So let's go see how that looks on the engine. This plug wire is way too long. So it would be nice if it was about that long. So let's cut it off there, leaving enough room for our conductor. So here are the pieces, and now we have to get the boot and the connector off. So the way I get the boot off is I take a probe and I get down in between the wire and the boot. I'm going to take a little silicone and spray it in there. Rotate it around a little bit, and the boot will slide off like that. Now we have to get this off. What we have to do is get these little tabs to bend up. I'm going to take the same probe and get down in between the connector and the wire and slowly work our way in so we don't take it out of the vise. And there's one, and there's the other. Now that we have it started, we can take a little pair of needle nose pliers and bend that back. Same thing on this side. Bend it back, and our wire will come out. And I like it. Now what we have to do is strip a little bit off here so that we can have the core exposed and bend it backward into the connector. It's easier to show you, but I have to cut, about 1/2 to 3/8 of an inch off the end of this. This is an MSD spark plug wire crimper, and it also has a guide on it for cutting the spark plug wires. I like to have a little bit more core exposed than what they're saying to expose, but you can hold a razor blade knife down on top of this and cut it without fear of cutting the core because they've got it set to the right depth. And you can pull it off. You know you've done a good job if the spiral winding on the carbon core is still intact and you don't end with a string or you stripped it all out. So that's a good cut. We'll take the core that we exposed and fold it down. Take the connector and slide it on with the wire underneath, the core underneath the wire. And now we have to crimp this. Using the MSD crimper, we'll send our wire on the top and slide the die in on top of it and go to the vise. With our crimper into the vise, we'll just crimp it up. And now it won't come off. I forgot a step. I didn't put the boot on, but I think we can get it on. We'll spray it up with silicone and hopefully it'll slide on. Yes, no problem. Now we'll take some brake clean and wipe down the wire to get rid of the manufacturer's logo, so it looks like a completely stock wire. And we can go put it on the vehicle. This is the position for the #1 spark plug, and we'll get it into the distributor, slide the boot down on it, put the wire on the spark plug. That's a little short. Let's see if we can use it someplace else. With the installation of the coil wire, we're done modifying the universal spark plug wires to be a custom fit on this block, and I think it looks pretty good. With the tank clean and dry, we can put it back together. '70 is empty all the way down, and I got 84 there, 84.7. And if I go all the way up, we have 3.4, and 10 is supposed to be full. So I'm going to say this is working the way it should. I want to measure how deep this tank is so we don't bottom that filter out, and it is 11.5 inches to the lip. The sending unit measures just over 10 inches. So we have to get that filter pretty much all the way on in order for it to not bottom out. So the tank is 11.5 inches from this lip to the bottom. And if I measure this configuration, we're at 14. So this is too long. Range we got, which is that right there. So we have to cut it off right here. I've had one other thought. Instead of cutting it, I could bend it further. So if this was like this, it would be off the bottom of the tank, but then it's going to interfere with the float. So I think the best thing to do is cut it. So let's cut it. For better or worse, now it doesn't interfere with the float. And the bottom of the sock is 11.5 inches. I wanted to show you the difference in the two sending units. This is the one that was in the tank. I don't know if somebody's doing a practical joke on somebody and make them wonder why they only had a half a tank of gas all the time. But that was done deliberately. That wasn't done by accident. You don't bend that easy. And this is what the new one looks like, and this touches the bottom. In goes our new sending unit. And the pipes want to be oriented that way, and there's a notch here that it just fits. And then you get it down in the notch. So that's the way it fits. It's on the bottom. We need to put the O-ring in. We'll take it out. We have another problem with the aftermarket sending unit. These notches in the fuel tank register on these tabs on the sending units. The tabs on the sending unit, the original sending unit, the one that was in the tank, is 2.50 inches. And the tabs on the new one are 1.935. These tabs aren't far out to engage the notches in the tank, and we're going to have to bend them out. Let's start with them straight up and down. And now let's measure it again. That's good. At least we got to see if it'll go in the notch. All right, it gauges and it definitely goes down. The kit came with a new nut. That's as tight as I can get it. I'm not going to put a wrench on it. They say, I think you only do it hand tight. It's an O-ring. Let's see if I can do it. Can. We'll take the roll pin that holds the strap in and insert it into the strap. Marred up the powder coat there a little bit, but that's the way that goes, I guess. I guess I could touch that up. We marred up our powder coat a little bit, so I'll just touch it up here. And it'll go away. There we go. When it dries, you'll never know. As we've had a nut on here before, it's been anti-seized and it is a correct powder coated nut. And we can put that on. That seems tight enough to me. Time to put the hoses on. We'll put the suction hose on first. And this is just glass cleaner. And it really helps put these hoses on. I mean, you saw how easy that slid on. And we'll put this clamp on it. Okay. Do the same thing here for the return hose. And now we're ready for the check valves. And if you remember, we had to replace this hose, and we might as well replace this hose while we're at it because this is a new hose and then these will all be new hoses. So let's do that. In order to replace this piece of hose, which is cracked, we need to take this clamp off, and the only way I know of getting those clamps off is by cutting them off. Okay, the clamp is off. There we go. Now we need to cut a length of hose, the same length as what we removed. Some glass cleaner. And slide that on there. Take a clamp. And now we'll put one on for the rollover valve. We need to do the same thing for this hose. This hose is new. There we go. Let's put our vent lines back together with our new lengths of hoses. And according to the pictures that I took, this line crosses over the top of this one. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe somebody did it before. But I'm going to put it back the same way I found it. So this goes in here like this. Now it doesn't make any sense to me why it would cross over like that, but that's the way it was when I took it apart. So that's the way I'm going to put it back together. Actually, the crossover happened after. So we gotta put this through here. And now it crosses over. Maybe that makes more sense. Okay. That one's on. And that one's on. With the hoses routed the way they were, we ended up with a short, medium, and long, and that's what we wanted because that's the way the pipes are on the Jeep. Now, I'm not going to put this back in the Jeep because we'd only have to take it back out again to put the body on. So I'm going to store this separate with the fuel tank cleaned out and new lines run and spark plug wires cut to custom length. I think we've met the goals of this video. If you enjoyed this video, there will be more.